What is up, YouTube? So we are so close to getting this Legacy started. If you haven't been watching the recent videos, I've been turbocharging this Legacy. I'm still waiting on a bunch of parts like a turbo blanket, a downpipe, all the coolant and oil lines for the turbo. In the meantime, I do have an upgraded fuel pump that I need to install. This is a Walbro 255, something you need when you are adding more air into your engine. Let's install this fuel pump. These bolts seem to be 8mm for whatever reason, so now I like to mark one of the hoses so I know where they go. So here's the fuel pump with the sock, and I was looking, and it actually looks like these electrical connectors are the same. So I think I can just plug this in without splicing anything. I just dropped a hose clamp in the fuel tank. You know, it always amazes me when I order WRX parts and they just like bolt up to the Legacy. It makes me so happy, like I don't have to fabricate anything. Like it came with this little grommet and it just sits right in there. It pops right on. Alright, y'all, that's what she's looking like. Let's plug this connector in. Fuel pump install was a success. Progress on the Legacy has been very slow over the past little while. I'm just trying to research and figure out what parts I need for the oil feed line for the turbo and the oil drain line. Being that I'm turbocharging a non-turbo engine, it's kind of hard to do that. So I've just been doing a lot of research and ordering a bunch of parts. I've basically gotten to this point. This part goes into the engine where the oil pressure sensor is. The pressure sensor is going to be moved to this port, and this is an AN fitting that goes to the turbo. And so I was originally going to screw it into here, just like that, but it's too tall to clear the alternator. So then I have to order an elbow so I can move it this way, right? So this is the wastegate spring for the turbo, and I don't know what it's set at right now, but I want to tone down the boost to like 5 psi. So I just loosen that nut right there. I'm gonna turn this. It's a little crusty, but I think it'll be okay. And then I'll just pop the retainer clip back on. So by the looks of it, I think I have to install this blanket while it's on the car. All right, well that was a struggle, but I get it on. Next on the list is the coolant lines. So I got these fittings from Lowe's. Two sides connect to the heater hoses, and the other side connects to this hose, which routes to the turbo. So if I mock it up here, and then I would splice it probably like right there. I can't find my hose cutter, so don't make fun of me in the comments. So if I then take this little fitting here, I can take my other hose here and plug it into this side. Alright, after a few hose clamps, we're looking good. So I will do the other side. Wouldn't be working on my car without some mishaps. Alright, so after a bit of trial and error, here is the coolant return hose. They actually don't look too bad. I'm pleasantly surprised. Well, I never installed this crank pulley, so throw that on there real quick. And it looks like 94 foot-pounds is what we need. There we go. So I noticed that the intercooler doesn't have a bracket on it, which I should have done when I mounted it a while ago. Anyway, I picked up this steel at Lowe's, so I'm gonna make a bracket for it real quick. Okay, here's the little bracket I made. Took a lot longer than it looks. It just goes right here and connects onto the hood latch. Alright, there it is. Now I know it looks pretty ugly and it's still bare metal right now, but I'll paint it later. This is what they wanted me to mount the intercooler with. Can you believe that? This ugly garbage? Hell nah. This one might be kind of tricky to fit in here. I got it on, and this is the piece that connects it to the intercooler, like that. Alright, we gotta put the grill on for the full effect. Damn. Obviously we're missing this part here, but one, I still need access to stuff down here, and two, I'm a bit worried about the clearancing. It does poke up quite a bit and I'm worried it might not clear the hood. I was thinking I could put this power steering pump on for now because it's not in the way of anything. And then I will pop these power steering lines on. It's really hard to get these threads to catch on these hydraulic lines. Yo, I got a boost gauge. This one seemed to be the cheapest without being like total Chinese crap. It's from Glow Shift, an eBay company. So from the instructions, it looks like we need to find a constant 12-volt power source. So I got a little tester here, and the fuse panel is over here. Alright, so I got the ground hooked up to the brake pedal box, and I'm gonna see which one of these two works when the car is off. Okay, so what I got here are these little fuse taps that I got from Walmart, and they need two of these little 10 amp fuses. One for the fuse you're tapping into and one for the wire itself, I'm guessing. So this one is a constant power source, and this one is a switched power source, the ignition, like so. And I'll pop the other one in for the ignition switch, just like that. The yellow wire is for the constant power source. So I just put this ground wire in this little clamp for now, so I can ground it easy. Hey, that's pretty cool. That thing looks sick. If I turn it off, will it save it? Yeah, it saves the color. It does come with a headlight switch to dim it, but I'm not going to install that because I really don't need it, and I'd have to run it all the way to the fuse box in the engine bay, and I don't want to do that. Hey guys, it has been a stressful time trying to figure out the turbo oil line. I had a lot more trouble with it than I thought, but I think I've finally come to a solution. So I'm teeing it off of the oil pressure sensor. So there's a bolt here with a thread through it, and what I've got is a T-fitting here, and then another T-fitting here, which goes off to the oil pressure sensor, and then this threaded hole right here is gonna be for this AN line that goes to the turbo. I had trouble with like the thread sizes and buying specific parts on eBay, and then one of the fittings broke. I had to figure something else out, but I'm confident that I've finally come to the solution. Just to get everything in the right place and seal it up, I've got a bunch of washers on everything, as well as a few crush washers in there. And I've also used the thread tape on the threads. I also had to tap some of the threads just to make everything match up. So it's definitely been a lot of work. There's no kit you can use to just do this, so yeah, I think I've got it though. Okay, so here are the banjo bolts for the AN line. And there we go. Power steering pump is back on. I had to hammer it a little bit so it could clear the contraption. So let's throw the alternator on. Well guys, it does not clear the alternator for the 4th time. Let's fix it. Maybe. Fuck me. I was able to angle the sensor this way, and that should clear the alternator. Boom. The alternator fits. It took me like 15 minutes, but I found the belt. Now I gotta plug in the alternator. So I got some vacuum line here, and this is for the boost gauge. And then we'll cut it again in the middle. And then I'll pop the little hose clamps on here. I'll pop it from here over to the wastegate. There's that. Now we can route this vacuum hose into the cabin. There seems to be a hole right here, so I'm just gonna put it through there. Alright, so I got everything ripped out in here. Basically, I'm gonna put the boost gauge in this little tray that goes into the radio. Drilled a nice little hole back there. Eventually, I'm gonna make like a plate that covers it that can hold the boost gauge, but for now, I'm just gonna kind of stuff it on there. I'm gonna route the vacuum hose and the wiring through here and extend the wiring a little bit with this extra stuff I have. Alright, check it out guys. No wires. And here's the temporary location for the boost gauge. I think it's pretty clean for what it is. Go ahead and turn the car on. Look at that. I don't know if the gauging of the boost actually works yet because the car's not on, but we'll see. It's about 20 degrees outside right now, and my heater ran out of propane, so I'm layered up right now. I finally got this hydraulic hose for my oil return line, so let's get it hooked up. Alright, so unfortunately the oil drain is way up there. I don't know how I'm gonna get to it, but I'll see what I can do. And I would like to point out I welded this bung really low on the oil pan without knowing that you shouldn't do this. you shouldn't run the line into sitting oil. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to redo this later on, but for now, just getting the car started, I think we'll be okay. So say about right there. Got the oil drain installed. I think it's time I install the radiator. Need the thermostat. I got the lower coolant hose bolted up. Unfortunately, I ran into some clearance issues with the intercooler piping. I was able to move it out of the way just enough, and I think that this will clearance itself when I bleed the system, so we'll just leave it as it is. This piece right here, I've been waiting to put this on for a long time. I know it's not anything too special, but I think it's pretty cool. True JDM boy now. Alright guys, I never thought I would buy all this crap from AutoZone, but now I actually am in the scenario where I need it, because I need to make an intake for the turbo. One that still utilizes the MAF sensor, because that's the most important piece to making my car run. What I'm gonna do here is cut off the flange for the airbox so I can attach that filter on there. And then I'm gonna cut it off somewhere about here so it can connect to this coupler I have hooked up to the turbo. Pretty confident that I've thought all this through and got all the measurements right. So we're gonna see what happens. I think before I cut this flange off, I'm gonna tape off this area so I don't screw up the MAF sensor in there, because this is all one piece and there's no real way to take it out, I don't think. So I got my little Dremel here and the MAF sensor taped off. So we're just gonna cut this flange off around here. All right, let's see if this air filter fits on there. Take the inner ring out. All right, check that out guys. I got it fit on there pretty nicely. I love it. Alright, that was definitely a lot harder to cut than I thought, but it's done. Okay, check this out. Intake. Was able to get these couplers here to work. I had to really push this power steering line out of the way. So I hope that doesn't ruin anything. I hope the MAF sensor can reach over here. Alright, here's my big ass AutoZone air filter. Alright, now I can plug the MAF sensor in. So this is a recirculating blow-off valve I got. It's pretty expensive. But basically, I haven't really figured out how I'm gonna hook this up onto the car. So I don't really need it to start the car. So what I did, just real quick, was I just put a little screwdriver and a hose and some clamps just to seal up the hole right there. And I'm just gonna throw it on the car right now so we can get this thing started. So I can't remember if I told you this, I've been making this video for like 3 weeks now, but I could never get a downpipe for this car. I did find a downpipe flange. So when I get to it, I'm gonna basically weld together my own downpipe with all those parts. But just for starting it, I'm just gonna put the flanger on. So it's gonna be loud as hell, but that's okay. I put this O2 sensor on there. Hopefully that helps it run a little better. So. Sorry, that filter is kind of disgusting. Probably should have cleaned it, but it'll be all right. When you have more volume of oil lines going to the turbo and stuff, you need more oil. So now comes the hardest part of this entire process, is building up the courage to start it. There's no coolant in it, so I'm not gonna let it run for very long, if it even starts. All right, so if this thing starts, the first thing I'm gonna look at are those oil lines that I made for the turbo, because a big unnoticed leak could take out my engine. So let's pray that that does not happen. I cannot put into words how nervous I am right now. Got my jump pack here. Turn it on. Neutral check. Let's check it again. That was a lot louder than I thought. Yeah. Definitely gonna need to make an exhaust for it before I go any further. And unfortunately, it is leaking some oil. So the first one is from the oil pressure sensor, and the second one, unfortunately, is from the oil pan, right where I welded that bung on there. So I'm gonna have to redo that, unfortunately, because that is way too much oil coming off of there. That's probably where I'm gonna end this episode, and next video hopefully we can have a test drive. So thanks for watching. I know this one took a while to make, but had a lot to do, so